Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm here with Pastor Steven. He just preached the message for part 3 of Here for Good, all talking about how we're for the next generation.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to unpack your message together.
Okay.
And something I ask everybody during this every time is, I know you worked really hard on this message, and I know there's a lot of content that you wrote on your page that didn't make the cut to make it quite on stage. So what are some things you wish you had time to share with people?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to the next generation, having the privilege to serve for multiple years as the student pastors, there was definitely some stories that I wish I could have told over the course of like what happened in certain students' lives as a result of what happens here because of the good work that Echo's doing. There was this one thing that I was going to do. I was thinking of this imagery of like a clay pot and how like precious and fragile, like almost like a little pot like this is so precious. But then I was going to like throw it up in the air and just let it crash and showcase like this is often what we do with the next generation if we don't give them a safe spot to land and how we can be the landing spot for those people. But that I went with a different analogy and I felt like that might have been a little over the top, but I'm kind of over the top. So
Tell me, you talked about this partnership of the home and the family. And we talk a lot about this in our Next Gen ministry and kids and students, the orange curriculum that is all about, is really what we cover with our Next Gen ministries. Can you speak into why is it that we believe and are convinced that it's this partnership that's crucial to have the greatest impact?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Raising kids is hard.
Yeah.
And so if we try to do it by ourselves, we will most likely get stressed out and overwhelmed. But when there is someone that comes alongside of a family and says, in the hard moments, I want to be there so your child feels empowered. There's somebody else that's speaking truth into them, and it's not just mom and dad's narrative all the time. It's somebody else that's being able to say exactly what mom and dad might have said, but from an outsider's perspective. But it also allows the parents to see somebody else loves their child too, and that there's an opportunity for them to not feel alone. I mean, the reality is as parents, our kids are in school most of the day. We're working. We get home. We have a few short hours together as a family. And then at church, we've got a few short hours with the kids too. So in those 2 moments where we don't have a ton of time together, if we partner together, it makes us stronger in that influence and the time that we have with them. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest pieces. And there's so many stories of individuals and in my own personal life, people that partnered with my parents, even if I didn't want the partnership as the student receiving it, it still made an impact later on in my life.
That was a question I was going to ask you next. Like, what do you have examples in your life of people that were there that were an investment to you in those years when you were a teenager or even before that had a significance and impact for you?
Yeah, I think like my youth pastor, Trent, it's fun now that I'm older and I'm in ministry. I've reconnected with him because I went a different way. He was trying to figure out how to be a youth pastor. I was trying to figure out how to be a teenager. And our families had known each other for a long time, but he just saw that I had a lot of gusto behind me. There was a lot of passion there. And despite like maybe my wrong decisions as a teenager, he always made sure I knew that I was loved. I always knew that he was available to me. And I didn't always take him up on that, but he spoke life into me. And then I had a small group leader, Tim, who was a busy attorney who was doing crazy things for really high net worth individuals, but he would take time on a weekly basis to spend an hour with me, interacting at a small group or going out to coffee. And we became great friends. He was part of my wedding. We get a chance to catch up as much as we can. We live in 2 different areas, but his influence in my life has completely changed the course and the trajectory that God had for me.
Yeah. As you were saying that, it made me think in my own life, I've had a good handful of people who personally invested in me. And all of them had some pretty messed up things that happened eventually. They were pretty broken people. That they fell out of ministry. They made terrible mistakes. And yet I see like the brokenness in this pattern of the people that have all invested in me. And it made me realize, man, all those things that happened and their lives going sideways doesn't diminish the fact that they had an impact. And really, God can work through anybody to have an impact in the life of kids and students that are so hungry and thirsty for people who are just intentional in spending that time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like you never know what seed is going to actually happen. And I gave this analogy a while ago to a group of guys. My son Judah doesn't like tomatoes. And on our balcony in the back deck, he threw one over the balcony into like the planter bed down below in our townhouse complex.
Yeah.
A year later, there's a full-blown tomato plant growing that our neighborhood goes and gets stuff. And so it's like he didn't even realize that he was going to make an impact that was feeding our complex with fresh tomatoes.
Yeah.
You don't know the impact you might make in throwing one seed into the next generation.
Wow, that'll preach right there.
Yes, it will.
That's awesome. Well, hey, everyone, I hope you're encouraged by this. I hope that you're even challenged to take a step in what it looks like for all of us to invest in this next generation. And when we talk about next generation, it's not the next generation of the church. It is the future of the church. If we don't invest in it, there is no future church.
Yeah.
And so we have this responsibility for us together to pour ourselves, to invest in, to create these environments that love students, that loves kids, so that we can have fully dedicated followers of Jesus that are going to become the next leaders of our churches, our worlds, and our communities. So hope you're encouraged by this, and we'll see you guys again next week as we wrap up here for Good Series. We'll see you next time.
Bye. See ya.